People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, bit of the same old. Obviously against Newcastle, Joe Willock and Reece Nelson played around 60 odd minutes. Encouraging display from the two lads. Martinelli, if we're real, didn't come on to have any real significance because he didn't have enough time, but he's been promising and is promising. I personally feel Martinelli, he can surprise a few. Right now, we're with everybody. All of them are great and we hype them all. But right now, the sentiment is with Joe Willock. He seems to be the one most ready, on the cusp of becoming stepping out of being that sort of young player and trying to be a consistent fixture in the side. Reece Nelson too, but I'd probably say Willock currently is the one beyond Maitland-Niles, who's obviously playing out of position and has been getting a lot of game time via playing that fullback. People. And he's done quite well. Personally, I'm excited about Martinelli, because I don't know what position long term he's going to end up. Probably because of his youthful exuberance and because of what we've seen so far, he's going to play on either flank. Potentially could be made into a striker. Now, I don't know this to be true. I'm just going on it. For me, Martinelli, there are a couple of times he gets in promising positions, but you look at his frame and his stature, he's still a young man and whatnot. He just gets muscled out. But from what I've seen of him, and I wasn't watching him when he was in Brazil and that, he's got this habit of being in the right places. He might have a scruffy shot or sometimes be involved in the goal, but he's always around where the goals happen. Or if a goal hasn't happened, if a goal's happened and he's not involved, you look at the highlights he's about. I think he's got that instinct. Obviously, as he develops physically in the club, and Emery specifically know more what they want to do with him. But could he potentially be made into a striker long term? Now, again, we don't know what we're going to get from him. He's just touched this club and we need to give him time. Personally, I've been advocating, let's just give him 6 months. It was good that he made his debut and whatnot, and I think he'll play and do a similar thing to Newcastle, a little couple minutes here and there. Potentially have to wait until the Europa League Carling Cup to get a first start. Hopefully that's at home in our first game. That would be good for the young players, me personally, your first game in Europa. But I'm encouraged by him. I'm obviously encouraged by Reece Nelson. I feel Reece Nelson, if he can just fine tune his end product, he could be a good player. Obviously, we want him to be out on the flanks and beat his man, and I don't think he done that enough really against Newcastle, but he did it on occasions. But I feel with the way Emery wants to play in the modern footballer, he comes inside and links well to a great degree. There's question marks potentially over that 10 role now. So Bios will probably do it for this season. He's on loan. Whether we buy him permanently is another story. And Joe Willock can play there. Emil potentially is for me long term. He potentially could go out on loan if reports are to be believed. Iwobi, who allegedly wants to play in the 10 role or the creative midfield roles, departed the club. So potentially there's a question mark over that position long term. We know we've got Ozil and Mkhitaryan. Could it be a thing where there was other areas, the wingers, the defence, the midfield, we address them areas, and next season we potentially get that real modern day creative midfielder who's Bernardo Silva for me. I know he plays on the right flank, but that would be it. He's got the poetry in motion, but he matches it with the aggression. I know he plays on the flanks, but that would be it for me. Do you get it, people? Someone like that, or that sort of mindset, all action sort of thing. So there's question marks, but I'm really liking the young players. I feel we've got to be careful with them. I don't feel they're going to play game in, game out. Like, I don't feel Nelson's going to play game in, game out, but he's a good rotation option. I'm willing to persist with him because he's shown me more than some of them senior players, and I think he can become a competent player for Arsenal's first team. I'm not here to say, of course we want Arsenal players to be the best and be better than Jadon Sancho, and out of all them, it's a good debate to have. I feel let them all develop, but it's a good debate. We want him to be that and the England star, but I feel he can be a good player for us. I feel he could potentially play in that creative midfield role at times as well, because he loves to go into that position and link up well and carry the ball, especially on the counter-attack. If he can fine-tune his final ball and making sure he maintains the same standard of pass throughout the game, he can go a long way. Willock the same. And obviously just adding more experiences. But obviously, if we look at it with some balance, if Nelson and Joe were like I don't know, Mkhitaryan and Jacques, for example, to use them two, of course we probably wouldn't be praising their performances to the way we are, because it was potentially 6s and 7s out of 10, which is a good performance, but it's not amazing. It's not like Wilshere against Barcelona, which typically happens about young players. But the reason why we're playing that is because they're not them experienced individuals. They're these young men that are... Joe Willock's made 3 starts for Arsenal in the Premier League, and Nelson, I don't know how many starts, probably like 2, probably 3 now. 1 against United, 1 away, sorry, forgive me if I'm wrong. He definitely started against Watford, and obviously Newcastle on Sunday. He's obviously played a bag of times in the Europa League, but Premier League starts, that's 6 between them. So they done quite well for them. Like I said at the beginning of the vid, away from home, hostile environments, in a side where on paper, going off of last season, right now, we've got poor away form, and we've actually to the point where we've matched our away clean sheets already in the first game of the season, if we're real. So I give them credit for that. I feel if we give these young players time, I don't feel, not just them two, but everybody, I don't feel every young player is going to make it here. It's not going to happen. But if players can make it here, if players can do what Iwobi's done and go on and make 20 to 40 million for the club to add into the kit, then the academy is working for us. Really and truly. We've obviously got Saka, who's, I believe, travelled with the squads but been injured. Potentially will sign a new deal when he turns 18, for me personally. We've got him. I believe he can be a good player for us on that left-hand flank and the right-hand side eventually. Another young one. But I want to see them get chances. Of course, like I said, they're not going to play game in, game out. But I truly believe we're doing something wrong. If Saka doesn't go on to be a regular, Reece Nelson, Emile for me, hand on heart. And if them three there don't go on to make it in this, Joe as well, I believe in Tyrese John-Jules personally as well. I think he can have a good career if it's not at Arsenal. It's always tough for a young striker. And obviously there's the Ballagans, there's the Eddies, they're all fighting. But I feel Tyrese is going to have a good career. He can play as a striker, whether he's stationed there or not, he can play that support striker role, that 10, links up well, good with his back to goal. Probably want to see him be a bit meaner and nastier, just a pet peeve of mine to a tiny degree. Be a tiny bit more prolific at 23's level as well, because his goal scoring record was good, but I think he can get more. I think he'll have a good career, man, and the club clearly think so as well, because he signed a new deal, and from what we hear, Emre rates him very highly. So I think there's something wrong if some of these guys don't go on to become Arsenal players of some stature. Not everybody needs to be Jack Wilshere or Marcus Rashford. Some guys need to come through and be competent squad players and things like that. And that's good. I'm not saying everyone can do that, but one, that saves the club money, or two, if they can't, they go and make profit for the club and whatnot. And things like that, because I think Joe can do it, man. Joe's, for me, it's the bravado he's coming with now. It's that healthy confidence and swagger he's playing with personally that I'm enjoying. So if we give them time, we can potentially see what happens. I was planning on ending the video there, people, but we might as well just carry on talking just because I like you folk. We might as well speak about Chris Willock coming back to England, people. Now, he's come back on loan to West Bromwich Albion in the second division. Good move for him. People will say he's left Arsenal and he's back in England without making, forgive me if I'm wrong, his debut for Benfica or playing a significant run of games in their first team, and look at it like he's declined as a player or it was the wrong move. And they might be right. I personally feel that's a very dim view of looking at it, because at the end of the day, he wanted to do it. If he sees this future, would he have potentially made it at Arsenal? Who knows? Because you look at him, Zilalem, Crowley, Gnabry, all them players around that age group, none of them really made it here. They had chances and whatnot, but they never made it here. So would he have got chances and made it? And you're inclined to believe he might have signed a new deal. He might have got chances. He might have stayed in the 23s and went on loan and all of these things. So we don't know that for true. So there's that. We don't know what could have happened. 2, he wanted to. 3, we don't know how Benfica's changed him as a player. Obviously had different coaches, different philosophies, technically played in a slightly more competitive league, forgive me if I'm wrong, in Portugal. So we don't know how the different culture has developed him and grew him as a person, ready for this and whatnot to that degree. I don't personally know, but I back Chris Willock all the way. Obviously his brother Joe's kicking on Arsenal's first team. He might be thinking what could have been. It's important to remember they're two different positions. But he's 21, he needs to go and get games now. In an ideal world, he plays well for West Brom. He goes back to Benfica and he joins in with their young players, with Jota, who's in their academy. And Benfica got a crazy amount of players. You don't know them if you're Portuguese. Go through and come through with them. The president has said that he wants a couple of them to come through. I'm sure Chris wants to be that. If not, permanent move to West Brom. I'm sure he'd like to play in the Prem if he could, or other Championship clubs. So it'll be nice to watch him under the eye in the Championship personally, people. Obviously his brother's here. It'll be nice to watch him in the Championship. We've seen a couple ex-Arsenal players there now, man. We've got Bolo at Borough, we've got Crowley at Birmingham, Josh De Silva's obviously at Brentford, our man Eddie's going to be on loan at Leeds. You've obviously got Chrissy there, Belix at Derby. So there's a couple of our players out there, and I'm probably forgetting some people. We're out there in the League One and in the Championship in League One and all of these sort of things. So it'll be key. I'm keen to see what we get from him, essentially, people. Do you know what? I might as well speak about Dru Yearwood, people, just because I mentioned the championship, and I feel someone that will be acquitted to the championship is Dru Yearwood. Now, if you don't know who he is, he's a 19-year-old midfielder, formerly of Southend, now of Brentford, 19 years of age. I believe he won a couple of League One accolades for his playing ability and whatnot. I think he got Apprentice of the Year, and he's moved to Brentford. Now, Brentford have obviously signed a number of, whether it's free transfers like Josh Da Silva or Cole Da Silva or other young players with scope to develop in the lower leagues or from Premier League clubs. There's a good philosophy at Brentford of giving young players chances. Josh Da Silva started for them the other day in the championship or whatever, forgive me if I'm wrong. He's gone there at 19 years of age to build on what he's already engraved at Southend. This is what I like to see, young players different paths, because he's come through at 19 at Southend. He's got 50 appearances at Southend, of over 50 to his name, people, in League One. He's going to go to Brentford, a team that, because he's not polished, go to there where he can learn and develop even more and get a potential another 50 in the championship over his belt. By 20 years of age, he's played 100 career appearances, even more, people. And if he does get a Premier League move or whatever, he's going to be able to hit the ground running. And you can't get experience without getting experience. I don't feel everybody needs to play in League One, go to Germany and whatnot. My point is, everybody's career is different, because there's a lot of players at Premier League clubs with, no disrespect, probably more ability than him. If you throw him and them right now into a championship club, 10 games, he's probably going to give you more consistency because he's got his feet wet in the league a bit more. So it's always interesting to see different development paths. You look at Joe Willock, who's not got that, but he's on the cusp of the first team at Arsenal. I'm not saying either one's better. I think Joe's better, clearly, people. No disrespect to Drew because I like him. But I'm saying I like to see the different sort of pathways that players go through to develop and whatnot. But the best thing I like is how many players can say they've got 50 appearances for a professional club in the proper league at 19. So by 20, how many will he have, giving him experience? It's obviously a rare case because not everybody gets it. But you look at Dele Alli, only he'll be able to tell you, but how much potentially that experience playing with MK Dons in them environments, how much did that help him hit the ground running at Spurs? If he never got them appearances, if he was a young player, he literally just come out of MK Dons academy and Spurs bought him, would he have banged and become an England regular and Spurs regular on this scale as quickly? Who knows, people? You look at Max Clark, who they've loaned back to Leeds. Again, he's a good player, but you look at the experience. If he had the appearances Dele had, would Pochettino or whoever, because it might not have been Poch's decision, might have said, yo, come, you will come and do our thing now. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you look at Nkudu off the bench, why couldn't Clark do that? Again, I'm not criticising Spurs and whatnot, I'm just making a point. This guy was also wanted by Crystal Palace and I believe Watford. I could be wrong about Watford. So there's that. There's him. What else was I going to... Should we quickly see if there's any Arsenal news, people? Any Arsenal transfer news? Apparently, Onene might be going to Galatasaray. They're trying to wrap up Falcao's move. Once they get that one done, something will happen. It's sad, but you're hearing that Mesut Ozil has got 24-hour dog patrol and is getting added security. I'm not even going to expand on that. I just hope they get through it, man. That's quite sad, really and truly. Koscielny's team are battling relegation technically because they didn't win their first game. I just saw someone tweet that. That's quite funny. There's not really much on the Arsenal front, people, really and truly. So we might as well just cut the thing, man. Hopefully. I don't know, man. Like, do you know what? We might as well. Hopefully against Burnley, people. Personally, I want to see David Luiz start. I want to see Pepe start. Potentially Torreira. I want to actually see Willock, Torreira, and Ceballos, but it's likely to be Ceballos, Xhaka and Torreira. I want to see Pepe, Aubameyang and Lacazette. I feel we should give it to them, man. I feel Burnley are gonna come here. They're gonna make it hard for us to break them down. We might as well give them something to worry about, really and truly. We'll speak about that a bit more, but that thought just came to my head because I'm actually writing up the preview before I started this vid. I've done bare mix and match videos here and there and whatnot and spoken about a lot of stuff here, people. So I'm gonna get out your hair, people. DG, I'm out.